It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Walking Dead. In this video, we're going to go through some articles that talk about the Season 10 finale and when it's going to come back, the air date. Now, there is no confirmed air date, but these are just some articles talking about some speculations in terms of when they think the finale is going to be airing. And also, we're going to look at an article talking about the Walking Dead movies and where that's at and how we might be able to see that, like the medium in which it's going to come. So with that said, let's jump right into this. So the first article we're going to look at comes from comicbook.com. This article talks about the finale of season 10 being delayed and them speculating that we're going to see the finale in a few months, which is pretty interesting. Now, for those of you that don't know, the finale of season 10 was supposed to come out like 3 weeks ago, but of course it was delayed because of the COVID-19 and the pandemic. So they weren't able to finish post-production on season 10's finale. So they delayed it. Now, what we think happened is because they wanted the season 10 finale to come back to back with the premiere of World Beyond, The Walking Dead's third spinoff, that's also been delayed. So the delay for World Beyond is not necessarily because they weren't able to finish post-production or filming or anything, but it's just because they wanted it to come back to back with the season 10 finale. Now, of course, there are some episodes in the back half of the season for World Beyond that they may not have been able to finish post-production on. They filmed everything, but maybe they weren't able to finish post-production on those, but I'm sure that that's not the sole reason for this delay. The sole reason for this delay is the season 10 finale. So first, we're going to go through this article. So the article from comicbook.com, and I'll leave a link to all of these articles in the description below so you can go and check it out. But the article title is When the Walking Dead Delayed Season 10 Finale Might Air. So I'm just going to go through it and share my thoughts along the way. The Walking Dead Season 10 finale delayed by coronavirus might not air for another 4 or 5 months. That kind of sucks, to be honest, predicts Negan actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan. So this is not even something that comicbook.com is saying. It's something Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, thinks, which is pretty interesting. The Greg Nicotero directed episode, A Certain Doom, was pulled from its planned April 12 air date, and the season ended with its penultimate episode, The Tower, which left off with Negan and other survivors surrounded by the Walker Horde, steered by Whisper Beta, Ryan Hurst. Because the finale required the use of heavy special effects to create Beta's legion of zombies and other finishing touches that can't be performed remotely, the episode is unable to air until it's safe for crew to return to work and complete post-production. So that's pretty interesting. 4 to 5 months, that seems like a big delay, but let's just continue. I think obviously things are going to come to some sort of a head with Beta and his character. There has to be some sort of a resolution. Morgan said of the coming episode when calling into SiriusXM's EW Live. Whether that carries over to next season, I'll leave that open, because who knows? But we know he's coming to wipe everybody out with his zombie horde. So hopefully we'll see that come to a head at some point. There has to be some sort of a battle. So he's obviously hinting that we're gonna see a major head-to-head battle between Beta and some other characters, but it's very interesting that he says he leaves it open in terms of whether Beta is going to return in season 11 or not. Now, I will do a separate video on this topic, but I'm slowly thinking that they might be doing something where Beta is going to actually be in season 11, maybe the premiere only, and his story is going to end there. But it's very interesting because for the longest time, I've thought that the Whispers and Beta's story will end in season 10. But the more I look into it, the more it seems like maybe his story is going to carry out into season 11 and end in the premiere of season 11. But again, I'll talk more about that in detail in the other video that I'll do. Because the episode was directed by series veteran Nicotero, who also directed the death episode for the Whisper leader Alpha, Samantha Morton, Morgan added, it's going to be a big, massive episode for sure. So of course, Greg Nicotero is the director that directs many of the big episodes, the premieres, finales, mid-season premieres, and mid-season finales. So it's not surprising that he's the director for the finale, but obviously, because he's the director and because it's a finale, we know it's going to be a pretty big episode in terms of special effects, because that's the episodes that Greg Nicotero directs for the most part. So it does connect to an extent, having the finale delayed because post-production is not able to finish because of the special effects that are required, and the episode being an episode that's directed by Greg Nicotero, who's heavy on special effects in the episodes that he directs. Now, one thing I want to clarify, it's not just the season premieres and the season finales and the mid-season premieres and finales that Greg Nicotero directs. He does direct other big episodes as well, which was referred to by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. The episode that Alpha dies wasn't a finale or a premiere, but it was a big episode that he directed. Then the article goes on to say, The Walking Dead stars had fun filming the action-packed episode, but Morgan admits to not knowing when work on the finale will be finished or when work can start on season 11, after its shooting start was postponed indefinitely. I reckon 4 or 5 months from now we'll get to see it, which will be cool, said Morgan. It will be cool having a one-off, almost a Walking Dead movie in the middle of the season, I guess. So we're excited about that aspect of it. So that brings up something very interesting. Because of this delay, and because they're gonna delay it, postpone it maybe for much longer than they were going to do originally, does that mean that they're going back to add some other additional stuff to the episode to make it bigger and maybe more intense and exciting? That's extremely likely, and that's great. That's awesome to hear. And it does connect to what Jeffrey Dean Morgan is saying in terms of it being some sort of like a mini movie on its own. So that's extremely interesting. In a recent update with comicbook.com, showrunner Angela Kang said that the finale was about a week and a half out from completion when California was shut down. Obviously, that doesn't seem to be true anymore because 4 to 5 months and 2 to 3 weeks or a week or whatever, that's way off. I mean, even if this thing continues for another 2 months, then they'll be able to release that finale in 2 months, 2.5 months. But 4 to 5 months, that seems a little off in terms of timeline. And I know that that's just Jeffrey Dean Morgan's speculation, but I'm just reading between the lines here a little bit. What is continuing remotely is the effects that can be finished, but even after all of that's done, all the shots need to be laid in. There's a color process that needs machines to be finished. There's sound work that we usually do on the Warner Bros. Stage. And that's very complex mixing equipment that you can't just move into somebody's house overnight. And multiple people work on that, Kang explained, adding the episode is very, very close to finishing. Again, a little bit of contradiction there, but let's get back to it. I think actually by the time the world is safe and people start to venture out, probably all of the effects will be done. And then it's just a handful of processes and it can be turned around very, very quickly, Kang continued. We're very hopeful that we can get it all done very rapidly once we're back up and running. So that's pretty much the end of this article. Again, it's looking a lot like this episode is not going to come back until maybe August, which is extremely disappointing, but at the same time, if they add to it, if they make it more exciting and expand it, I'm okay with waiting. I mean, if it's worth it, let's just go for it. But I'm afraid it might not be worth it, but we'll see. The next article we're going to look at comes from Entertainment Weekly. This also talks about Jeffrey Dean Morgan's interview. So we'll go through that. Jeffrey Dean Morgan on when we may see the massive Walking Dead finale. The man behind Negan also said it's an effing mystery when season 11 starts filming. I mean, at this point, season 11 is not really as much of a question mark as the finale is. So I'm sure when the finale comes around, everything's just gonna fall into place after that, because that's like the bottleneck, because that has to go first, then The World Beyond, then Fear the Walking Dead, then season 11, and then the movies and so on. So I'm sure that the big bottleneck at this point is the season 10 finale. Even though season 10 of The Walking Dead finished filming back in November 2019, way before the coronavirus started spreading here in the United States, the AMC drama was unable to finish complicated post-production special effects on his season finale. That means the season ender that was originally intended to air on April 12 remains in limbo. So when will we get to see the 16th and final episode of season 10? We asked series star Jeffrey Dean Morgan when the man who plays Negan called into EW Live, Sirius XM Channel 109, along with wife Hillary Burton to chat about their new quarantine talk show Friday night in with the Morgans. So this is the exact same quote that comicbook.com provided. So that's two sources. So that means that it's most definitely legit. Like, it's not something that they just came up with as a rumor or a clickbait thing. It's an actual interview that he did. And there's also a video of it right here. I haven't watched, but I'm sure that it's gonna have that exact same quote in there. So what can we expect when we finally get to see the episode? So this is the exact same quote. We went through that, so I won't go through that again. Nicotera also directed every Walking Dead premiere and finale starting in season 5, which has featured many a battle in the past. But cast and crew have seemed particularly excited about what they had filmed in episode 1016. Then it goes on to talk about Negan and Jeffrey Dean Morgan playing Negan in season 10. So it's not directly related to the finale, so I won't go through that much. But that's pretty much the second article here. The third article is actually related to the movies. This comes from comicbook.com as well, so let's go through that. The Walking Dead Rick movies might not be played in theaters now. So, of course, they did say pretty early on when the movie was confirmed that the movie will be played in theaters. But it seems like that's not going to be the case. And it's directly, or for the most part, directly linked with the COVID-19 situation as well. So let's go through this. Many fans of The Walking Dead are eager to learn whatever they can about the return of Rick Grimes in a series of movies planned to be released in theaters. But Andrew Lincoln's future on the series might remain on a small screen due to the recent events. While AMC has partnered with Universal Pictures in hopes of premiering Rick's Walking Dead return on the big screen, a recent problem with movie theaters such as AMC Theaters and Regal Cinemas could derail those plans. After Universal bypassed big screens with films like Trolls World Tour, The Invisible Man, and The Hunt and put them on TWD quickly because of the coronavirus shutdown, those theater chains said they would not screen movies that don't honor the release window. So that's extremely interesting. And the most interesting part of it is AMC Theaters, AMC Network. There's some sort of affiliation for sure, so that makes it interesting. If theater chains hold to their promise of not showing Universal Studio movies in theaters, which the Rick Grimes movie is, by the way, and if more join the initiative, then Rick Grimes won't be seen in many movie theaters around the country and the world. The good news is there is plenty of time for this to change. Both the movie studio and the theaters need each other. Movies like No Time to Die and Fast and the Furious films would take a huge or a large audience out of the theaters if they are not screened. However, it would also result in a considerable loss for the studio if there are no box office dollars ahead of at-home purchase figures. There's a lot of truth to that. It's a lose-lose situation if this happens, so the theater chain's threat might just prompt a strong stance of supporting the theatrical experience with a more definitive stance. Universal's response to AMC Theaters dropped their films already seemed to indicate support of the box office release format. At the time of publishing, theater chains like Alamo Drafthouse, Cinemark, and Sanicos have not threatened to cut ties with Universal Studios. There is plenty of time for this to happen as well. The Walking Dead has given no indication of when the movies starting Andrew Lincoln as Rick Grimes were scheduled to release ahead of the delays which many productions were facing. Now it's inevitably going to be a longer wait for the film, which already felt like it was taking long enough. I completely agree with that. The story will inevitably develop and evolve as Universal Studios and the theater chains either come to an agreement or don't. I don't want to make this video super long, so I'm just going to end it here. That's the end of the article. But one thing I do want to mention is they need to finish the script for the movie first before they look into what the medium for it should be. I mean, at this point, it seems like forever, like the article said, that we've been waiting for the movie. So it's just becoming more of a meme at this point. So I think they just need to finish the screenplay. They need to finish the script. They need to make sure that they have the story down. And then they need to worry about everything that follows. I mean, it only makes sense. They keep thinking about where to put it and all of that without actually having everything down on paper in a concrete manner. There's been lots of contradiction when we talk about the movie. Some say that it's done, some say it's 90%, some say that the script is not even close to done. So it's a matter of finishing the script first before you look at where to put it, like what the medium should be. But that's beside the point. The point was the article that talks about this makes the point that the movie is most likely going to be delayed for much longer and that it might not be in theaters. But again, there's plenty of time for that to change. But with that said, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to join our community if you enjoy the content, and like the video if you enjoy it. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.